This is called I Am Content. A spindle of hazelwood had I, into the millstream it fell one day. The water has brought it back to me no more. As he lay dying, the soldier spoke, I am content. Let my mother be told in the village there, and my bride in the hut be told, that they must pray with folded hands for me. The soldier is dead, and with folded hands his bride and his mother pray. On the field of battle they dug his grave, and red with his life blood the earth was laid. The earth they laid him in, the sun looked down on him, and he spoke, I am content. Flowers bloomed thickly upon his grave, and we're glad they blossomed there. The soldier asked from the deep dark grave, did the banner flutter there? Not so, my hero, the wind replied. The flight is done, the banner won. Thy comrades of old have borne it hence, have borne it in triumph hence. Then the soldier spoke from the deep dark grave, I am content. And again he heard the shepherds pass, and the flocks go wandering by. And the soldier asked, is the sound I hear the sound of a battle cry? And they all replied, oh no, our hero, thou art dead and the fight is over, our country joyful and free. Then the soldier spake from the deep dark grave, I am content. Then he heareth lovers pass, and the soldier asked once more, are these not the voices of them that love and remember me? Not so, my hero, the lovers say. We are those that remember not. For the spring has come and the earth has smiled, and the dead must be forgot. My granddaughter this week asked me to explain to her the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. And so I thought, well, maybe we'll talk about Memorial Day a little bit. Veterans Day is the day that we celebrate men and women who have served in our armed forces, that are still living, or who have passed, but typically are still living, and we're honoring them. Memorial Day is a holiday where we honor our men and women who have served in the armed forces who never made it home. So it's a hard subject to talk about for me, but let's give it a go, okay? So after the Civil War, as you know, there were thousands and thousands of young men and men that had died during the Civil War. So many so that our country had to establish national cemeteries for our military men. And, you know, like I've told you before about history, there's different sources. And so there's a big debate, and it has been for years, as to where exactly this originated. Now, it used to be called Decoration Day, and some historians say that it started in the South. That the women would decorate the graves of their loved ones who had passed away after They had served in the Civil War in the South. Then some historians say that it started with African American former slaves who were serving for the Union when after Charleston had given up, and they were the first troops in to clean up the city and to bury the dead. There was a general in the North who wanted to make it a national, not necessarily holiday, but national remembrance for the Civil War soldiers, and some say he got the idea from the South. But he was a very well-respected Union general, and so he kind of got the ball rolling. After that, this is an interesting note. He had chosen the 30th of May to always have Memorial Day, Decoration Day, on the 30th of May, because his reasoning was the flowers were always in bloom. I love that. The flowers were always in bloom, and there was no major battle that had been fought on the 30th. So, out of respect for the Army officers. However, after World War I, that was changed, I believe. Let me double check the year here. Well, it was in the 60s. 1968, that was changed, and it became a federal holiday. And the reason they moved it from the 30th to the 31st was so that federal employees could enjoy a 3-day weekend. As much as I love a 3-day weekend, I really think that kind of hurt the whole purpose of it, which was to honor the soldiers who had passed away. It was after World War I that it involved those soldiers too. Before that, it was Civil War soldiers. Afterwards, it became World War I veterans, then World War II, and now it encompasses any kind of armed service. And I'm also starting to see a trend where it covers first responders. They're being honored too. Nurses, EMTs, physicians, anyone who's in the line of duty. Have you ever wondered why they hand these out? You know, on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, you always see veterans handing these out, and you usually give them a couple dollars or whatever for one, the red poppy. It's interesting to note there was a soldier, and he was also a military doctor during World War I, and his name was John McCrae. And he had a very, very good friend that was in the service with him. And they were sent to a battlefield. Now, we need to remember that during this time, World War I, it isn't like it is now, where you have antiseptics, you have medical tools, you have things to numb the pain. Back then, it was just like the Civil War. It was rough, and so you hear moaning and pain and screaming and death everywhere. And so John McCrae was a doctor there in an encampment, and he had spent a harrowing day taking care of the injured when he was notified that his friend that he was very close to had passed away in that battle, and he was just heartbroken. And so he went for a walk. As he was walking, he saw an entire field that was covered in red poppies that was just beautiful. And it was almost ironic. How could you have so much beauty when there's been so much death and horror? So he began to write this poem. Excuse me. He didn't think it was very good. And so he threw it away. But he had read it to some of his friends that he was working with, and they thought it was very good. They retrieved it from the trash, actually. And I want to read it to you. It's called In Flanders Field. It was written in 1915 by John McCrae. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard among the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived. We felt dawn. We felt the sunset's glow. Loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Now, to me, you can dissect this poem for a long time. But the first thing that it made me think of was life goes on. And as horrific and terrible as the situation is, to find God's beauty somewhere and to know that life goes on. Something else, especially this last paragraph where he says, if you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. So in other words, don't let them die in vain. Don't stomp on the flag. Don't take a knee. Don't be disrespectful. People died so that you could stand up and say what you wanted to say. So I just think that that's a beautiful poem and a beautiful reminder. Just so that we remember Memorial Day, of course, it's like the kickoff of the summer vacation. I mean, I love it too. I love a 3-day weekend just like everybody else. But let's not forget to take time to honor those who were braver than we ever were. braver than I would ever be.